celebration Bolas de Fuego, or Balls of Fire, festival in Nejapa, El Salvador returned with teams throwing fireballs at close range. The celebration of tradition in the way of a unique festival is not unknown to modern society. Many flock to Spain to take part in the running of the balls at the Pamplona and Encierro. Or there's La Tomatina, a food fight festival resulting in what one would call a whole lot of homemade tomato sauce. There's also the likes of England's annual Cooper's Hill Cheese Rolling and Wake, which involves a race against the cheese. Most of the traditions of El Salvador are not unique. They do exist all over Latin America. El Día de los Muertos, or Day of the Dead, for example. But there's one tradition in El Salvador that takes the cake with its bizarre and unusual ritual. El Salvador also celebrates something called Las Bolas De Fuego de Nejapa, or the Fireballs of Nejapa. This year's celebration was the first since the COVID-19 pandemic began and the 100th since the tradition started in 1922 El Salvador. During the day, people celebrated with musical performances, dances, parades, floats, and music, an outlet reported. People hurled fireballs at each other to celebrate the annual Balls of Fire festival in El Salvador, a video shows. With faces painted or obscured by masks, opposing teams launched flaming, gasoline-drenched rags back and forth down the streets of Nejapa on the night of August 31, Reuters reported. It was all part of the Bolas de Fuego, or Balls of Fire Festival, a tourism site, explains El Salvador Info. The Fireball Festival commemorates a landmark volcanic eruption which, according to legend, was actually a battle between local patron saint San Jeronimo and the devil, as a tribute to this divine clash between good and evil. Before we get into more details about this festival, just a reminder that we have a bonus fact for you towards the end of the video, so stay tuned. With that being said, let's get into it. Number 1. Balls of Fire. Think about having a snow fight. However, instead of using snowballs, you use balls engulfed in kerosene and set on fire. Yes, the two opposing teams fight each other with these fireballs. Fun, is it? Each year on the evening of August 31st, residents of small Salvadoran town Nejapa paint their faces to look like skulls, soak their clothes and pair of gardening gloves in water, and take to the streets in teams for the annual Bolas de Fuego, or Fireball Festival. The unique local tradition involves two teams fighting fire with fire at close range on an unregulated battleground of Nejapa streets, according to Atlas Obscura. Crowds gather along the sidelines to cheer them along, occasionally getting caught in the crossfire themselves. A video from La Prensa Gráfica Noticias de El Salvador shows. The Fireball Festival is one of the most prominent events on Nejapa's calendar, with emergency medical respondents and a fleet of cops on hand for when chaos inevitably ensues. With no set rules or laws to abide by, in conjunction with its religious significance in a devout region, the Fireball Festival is a point of both celebration and criticism, but a surefire spectacle nonetheless. The unconventional firefighters wear thick, wet clothing and gloves. ElSalvador.com reported. They begin preparing in May, making balls out of rags and soaking them in gasoline for over a month, the outlet reported. Not everyone from Nejapa has to participate. It is mostly the young men from the community who became a part of this spectacle for the adrenaline rush. Emergency personnel stand on alert while teams throw the fiery projectiles at each other. Video shows the firefight had about 150 participants and lasted about 2 hours, involving roughly 3,000 fireballs, ElSalvador.com reported. Number 2. Origin. The origin of Nejapa's Balls of Fire festival is not entirely certain. El Salvador Info explained. The celebration has two competing explanations, one historic and one religious. The historic explanation is that the festival commemorates the eruption of El Playón volcano in 1658, according to El Salvador Info. This volcanic eruption forced people to leave Nejapa's old location and move to the city's current location, about 10 miles north of the country's capital city of San Salvador. The religious explanation is that the festival reenacts a fight between the city's patron saints and the devil, which took place amid the volcanic eruption, El Salvador Info explained. The saint hurled fireballs at the devil during this fight, inspiring the city to respect the battle of good versus evil, according to the outlet. Regardless of the origins, the Balls of Fire Festival attracts many national and international visitors to watch the fireball fight firsthand. It excites me, and it is a passion for me, one participant told Reuters. This is culture, and this is love for Nejapa. Every year, we will be here. Number 3. History of Nejapa. Nejapa is located about 25 kilometers from the city of San Salvador and 58 kilometers from the international airport. According to historians, the pre-Columbian inhabitants of Nejapa were people Indians. It is theorized that the original town was located near Opico. Then, due to the eruption of El Playón volcano in 1658, the inhabitants moved to Quezaltepec. Subsequently, they moved to the site it currently occupies. In 1878, by legislative decree, Nejapa received the title of villa. Eventually, in 1959, again by legislative declaration, Nejapa's title changed from villa to city. The economy of the municipality is based on agriculture, farming, manufacturing, and general commerce activities. The agricultural activity of the municipality is based on the cultivation of coffee, basic grains, vegetables, and fruits. Nejapa also has livestock farming. Number 4. Culture and tourism. Nejapa is an attractive municipality worth visiting. It has fantastic cultural customs and traditions, most of them related to religion. Now, when it comes to tourism, Nejapa is not a top destination in the country. Nejapa has excellent cultural traditions. They are in full display during its patron saint festivities. These festive days are in September from the 19th to the 30th. They honor Saint Jerome, the municipality's patron saint. If you want to visit Nejapa as a tourist, it is recommended to do it in September during the patron festivities or on August 31st during the awesome Balls of Fire festival. It would help if you asked a reliable tour guide to visit Nejapa on the 31st of August. In Nejapa itself, there's not much to see, so you can make it a half-a-day trip, or you decide to stay there overnight and visit the historic center of San Salvador the next day. Also, you can visit the volcano San Salvador. Up there, you have a beautiful view of the city. The festival Bolas De Fuego in Nejapa itself is a big event, so you can expect many people there. Bands are playing, people are dancing in the streets, and it's also an excellent possibility to try typical Salvadorian food. It is advised to not get too close to the action because it can get a bit wild. Please don't get distracted by your cell phone or something because you might want to see the fireball first before it hits you. Should this festival be allowed to continue despite the obvious risks involved? Where should authorities draw the line between upholding tradition and potentially antisocial behavior? While these questions remained unanswered, the citizens of small-town Nejapa will continue to hold their not-so-traditional custom of fireball throwing in remembrance of the volcano that once changed their world. Thank you for staying with us this far. Here's the promised bonus fact. In an interview, a festival participant, Carlos Diaz, was reported saying, "You know you're going to get burned, but it's part of the adrenaline. Part of the adrenaline to feel the fire. Each one of us, those you see here, is conscious they can get burned. They can get hurt. It's a rough game to throw balls of fire, and they are thrown hard." What do you think of this very dangerous tradition? Comment down below and let us know if it is something you would like to witness yourself. If you enjoyed the content, uplift the channel by hitting like, subscribe, and ring the YouTube bell to meet us again in the next video.